Welcome to the Relationship Revivalists podcast. My name is John, and I'm here with my beautiful and wonderful wife, Jess.
Hey, John. How are you doing?
I am doing awesome. And you know what it is today?
What is it?
Today is our 10th episode. It's awesome.
Yay! That's time to celebrate, John.
It really is. And so this brings on the whole relationship goals that we're going to talk about today. Mm-hmm. And you know, we celebrate the small things, and when you celebrate those small things, you pile those things up, and you can exchange. Think of it as an exchange. You've got all these small goals that you've accomplished. You get to turn them in for a bigger one.
Oh, exciting. Yeah, because when you're making those little improvements and making those small goals and attaining those, just like John said, then you eventually look back and see, whoa, I really made some milestones here. I made huge gains.
Exactly. And so we are celebrating our 10th podcast. We made it to double digits.
Yeah.
And so we absolutely love that we're giving you all this content, and absolutely fabulous, in my opinion.
And we hope that you're enjoying it as much as we are bringing it to you.
Yeah.
And so like John said, today we are talking about relationship goals. And the kids today are say hashtag relationship goals, right? So we are talking about marriage goals today. Uh-huh. And what better time than at the beginning of a new year to talk about goal setting.
Yeah.
So, you might, there are a lot of people are opening up gym memberships, purging their homes and decluttering and all this great stuff, making all these great goals. But we don't want to leave our marriage and our relationship by the wayside. So we need to make some goals for our marriages too.
Exactly. And so we have our first line item here that we're talking about. And we talked about this pre-recording, and it's about doing a mission statement for your family, whether it's just you and your spouse and kids. Mm-hmm. Even you can even include this to like extended family if you want, but I highly recommend doing one for your immediate family. Absolutely. Because that way you can actually tell your family, if you have kids or if it's just the two of you, you can collaborate and you can make this exactly what you want. You repeat it every single day. Mm-hmm. Do it for a 90-day period. Some of you might have a problem with doing a 90-day period, but start with 3 weeks, because we know that 3 weeks makes a habit, right? Mm-hmm.
Just like any goal, make it small and make it something that you can actually accomplish, and don't make it a big drawn out thing, because that weighs us down and we probably won't actually do it. But the reason why John and I really, really like the idea of a mission statement or something like that is a mission statement really helps define you as a couple and define you as a family. And by defining, I mean, like, what wonderful things do you believe about your family, or that you want your family to attain, right? Mm-hmm. And a great way to start with is to look at the Word of God and to look at the wonderful things that God says about us. Like, He loves us so much. We're perfect in His eyes. We're created in His image, and all He's on and on and on. And so that's a great way to start. Take those awesome things that God says about us and turn it into a mission statement. So we have something like a mission statement. We have it up in a special place in our house for our family. Mm-hmm. And so when we look at that, we think, this is who we are. This is who God created us to be, and this is what He says about us, and this is who we are.
And the thing that I like about that is that we actually went and put the effort into writing it out, and then once we got it how we liked it, we typed it out, and then once we got that set the way we wanted to, we found some really awesome paper, and we printed it out, framed it, and put it up on our wall. Mm-hmm. And now, if that's something that you can picture yourself doing and you like that, go ahead and do that. That's one way to keep the goals in front of you.
Exactly. And by doing that, it's like making a memorial almost, like we're remembering this is what God says about us. It makes it even more important in our minds. And go ahead.
And so, this is kind of akin to when back in the medieval times, they would make a family crest. And, what we just did, we put our mission statement in a frame and hung it up on our wall. But they would actually put these family crests out on the front door or above the front door, and that would be their insignia. That's what they stood for. And you could look at those things on that insignia, and you could tell by the colors, by the different shapes that they would make on them. And like
the
if they
symbols,
had the
symbolism and everything.
yeah.
Every part of it would mean something. And so a lot of times family crests might have big, wonderful words attached to them, like valor and honor and things like that, that define them as a family. And so we can take a modern day twist on it and make a mission statement.
Exactly, and that can mean even more so because you've got several words there. You know, if you want to, you can take it a step further and you can create your family crest too. There's nothing wrong with going that extra step.
Yeah, totally.
And you agree with your family about it, and you can put it up on your front door or not. It's a great conversational piece.
No, absolutely. Yep. That's a great idea.
You know, with the whole relationship goals, marriage goals, we're in the new year creating our New Year's resolutions. And so that means that we want to find some sort of a statement that would say, hey, this is who I am, or maybe not yet, but this is who I want to become. Mm-hmm. And if you leave all the areas, if you do things for your physical stuff and maybe your financial stuff during the start of the year, a lot of people forget to do things for your marriage.
Exactly.
And so you want to do that. And so it's like having weight loss goals. You know, you have to do the maintenance. And if you don't have the maintenance done, then you have to start putting the work in. And like I like what you said earlier. You said that, you know, you didn't get to this place by doing one grandiose action. Mm-hmm. You actually did several small steps, and you got to that place. Now, to reverse that or change course, you have to do what? More steps, right?
Exactly. Just like when you look at a marriage that might not be doing so well right now, it took lots of little steps or missteps to get to that place. And so it's like when you're turning a barge around. It's not a speedboat. It's not going to just turn right around. It's going to turn very, very slowly. But remember that we're making progress as we're doing these little steps, these little changes toward the better. And just like John was talking about weight loss goals, somebody just starting out, they might be very overweight, for example. Their goal might look very, very big and almost unattainable at the beginning, but they have to have smaller goals and smaller milestones and celebrate themselves each time they attain another goal and another goal. And pretty soon, if they keep at it, they find themselves at the maintenance level. And so when they're at the maintenance goal, they're not maybe losing weight anymore, but they're not taking a vacation and just relaxing with their goals either.
It's not Thanksgiving anymore. I mean,
right. So yeah, exactly. Now there are those times where you might take a vacation, you might relax a little bit, but then you get right back on your goal. Mm-hmm. But my point is, just like, in a maintenance time, you're not going to just, sit back and eat chips all day. Probably you're still going to, maintain what you eat and your exercise and things like that to stay with your goal. Just like that with our marriages, we're not going to, try to take some steps back and just say, oh, I told her I loved her last week. It should do, good for this week too. No, we still need to take the same little steps to maintain and to improve on our marriage as well.
Yeah. And just a side note here for the guys that are listening, I would say that you're going to have to start telling your wife what you feel about her. I mean, you did it in the beginning, didn't you? I mean,
positive things,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, obviously the positive things, because what you focus on is what you're going to get. And I'm a firm believer in that too. You want to tell her like once a day, and if you have a hard time, if you're stoic and just have a hard time with emotions, start off with once a week at least.
Oh, at least.
At the very least. But you have to say, hey, and you have to build your wife up like we were talking about in episode number 2, where you have to build each other up. And so that is another...
And John, men are really goal-oriented, right?
They really are.
I've noticed.
We really are. And so if we set those goals, we're going to accomplish those goals. There's no, and sometimes we take it a little too far, but you know what? We still get them done, and then we can go back into we're comfortable, and we can go back and come home and just say, I accomplished a goal, and now I can be with my wife and enjoy life for right now. So, you know, we want to focus on goals and improving ourselves in the new year, and actually all of the time, because that's how you get to that explosive love. You have to always be on topic,
be vigilant.
Exactly.
Yes.
So when you want to do that, you have to have this broken down into a couple of things, and we're getting up to our 15 minutes that we like to go to, but we want to do our mindset. We want to be able to change our mindset so that we don't sabotage our marriages through our vocabulary. And
for a mindset goal, we would suggest maybe starting out with picking one verse of scripture where it's talked about marriage, and picking that for a week or two, and just really meditating on that here and there throughout the day. That'd be a great way to start a mindset goal for your marriage. And then another area would be spiritual and emotional and physical. So for the spiritual, what's a goal that you think would be a good spiritual goal?
I think that one of the goals that you should have as a spiritual one is to set a time and a place where you can meet with your spouse and pray together.
Yeah. And, don't start out thinking, I have to do this every day. Right? Or I have to pray for an hour with my spouse every day. That might be a little unattainable if you haven't reached that place yet. But maybe 2 times a week for 5 minutes each. That would be a more attainable goal.
It's just like when you're working out, you can't go and pick up the barbell that's full of weights right off the bat. You have to start with small stuff and build up your muscles so that you can get to that big one and be able to pick that up. I've seen many people who are just... They go to the gym and they're picking up all these weights, and I'm like, yeah, that's pretty impressive, but I know where you started. And you have to know that you have to start small and do it repetitiously. And after you've done that, your spiritual muscle is going to grow, and you're going to want more. And that's just how you build your relationship with God and with your spouse.
And when you work on the spiritual and the mindset, and then we're going to talk about emotional in a minute, it all helps to then help with the physical as well. But when we're talking about an emotional goal, it would be a good emotional goal. And we thought about the idea of the topic of forgiveness. That really needs to be first.
Yeah.
Right? If you're going to get anywhere with your marriage and with your spouse, you have to be willing to forgive first if there are some things to forgive. And we talked about forgiveness in podcast number 7. And so that'd be a perfect emotional goal to start with.
Yeah, podcast number 7, where we talk about the F word. And so you have to go ahead and do the forgiveness about your emotional, because that's where a lot of healing can happen right there, is just forgiving. And then, of course, you have the physical stuff, and you've got sex, and you've got working out, whether you're going to be at home working out or you're going to a gym and working out. These are all things that you can do to make your marriage the best marriage that you will ever have and will have for as long as you want.
Absolutely. Yep. And so all those things that we talked about, if you make a goal for each of those parts of your life related to your marriage, it really helps you connect with your partner and just be bonded together. Right.
Yeah. So we'd like to tell you that we have an ebook coming out here real soon. In fact, we're in the final stages of this, and we'd like to get it to you in your hand so that you can read about this and really nail down how to have that explosive love marriage that everyone wants to have, right? And
yep.
So
we're really excited about it coming out.
So watch our website. It will be posted on our website first, and then social media second. And we look forward to getting that into your hands. Our website address, in case you don't know what it is therelationshiprevivalist.com with an S at the end of revivalists. So one more time, therelationshiprevivalist.com. And look on the first page, and off to the right, you should see a book that says 7 Simple Steps. And that tells you how to have that long-lasting relationship, loving relationship.
So be sure to click on that so you can enjoy that. And we want to sign off for now, but we'll talk to you next week.
Awesome, and we will see you next week. Have a wonderful week.
See you later.